Hello and welcome, Jessie. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. For those who aren't aware, Jessie is our incredible program coordinator here at FFLP, who's keeping everything running smoothly and doing all the things, wearing all the hats. So, thank you so much for joining us here, Jessie, and I can't wait to get to know you a little bit more and a little bit more about your journey.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here, Aimee. Looking forward to having a chat and diving in.
Yeah, me too. So, to get us started, did you want to maybe speak a little bit to your background? Let us know what has inspired you to take the path that you've been on for the last however many years, maybe since high school is a really good place to start. So, yeah, take it away.
I'm one of those people that haven't had like a linear path. So I'm coming up 40 in a couple of years, and I've probably worn or had like so many different sections to my work personality and evolution of me. So it's not like I started here and ended up here. It's kind of been a lot of chopping and changing for me. I started in high school. I was the girl who, as soon as I could get a job, I went and got a job. So I was 13 and I had a job at Hungry Jack's. And then we had friends, they were German, and they had this cafe. So I would go learn how to make coffees there and serve ice creams. And they cooked a lot of liver. It was disgusting, but it smelled really good. So, and she would always send me home with free food. I loved getting the free food. So that's kind of where I started, like very hospitality, very customer service. And that was just all that was around for people my age where I was living. So that's where that started. I was also a swimmer. So by the time I was 17, I think it was 17. Yeah, 17, I could get my certificate to be a swimming instructor. So by then I started working part-time, doing swimming instructing with like babies, little ones, and like right up eventually doing like squad training, which is what I was swimming in as well. So a little bit passion-based. It was at the centre where I had trained for years. So it was kind of like a family business and very nurturing for me. And I loved that, but also I was in the water all day and I'd get sick. You'd get kicked by kids a lot. Like they would, because before you could like touch kids to help them get the stroke right. So I'd go behind them and give them a little push, and you just get kicked in the chest, kicked in the face. Like, oh, I've been kicked everywhere. And so I was like, all right, well, I like working in this environment, but I don't love being in the water. I don't love all of that. So I went into TAFE because I had no idea what I wanted to do when I finished school. I kind of started just working, swimming instructing. And so I decided to go to TAFE and do a certificate in business and admin, but it was under a sports and rec sort of certification, which tied in really well with what I was doing. But honestly, at that age, taking in all of that information at around 17, I didn't have an understanding of how to apply that into real life. And so I found a lot of it went over my head, and I wasn't working in a role where I was doing that either. So I stuck at that. And while I was at TAFE, I was doing working in Big W. Now, since I was 13, have always dabbled in my mum's makeup. Love a little bit of makeup. And so they put me straight into the beauty section. I have to say it's probably been one of the funnest jobs I have ever had. I would swatch things all day, and then I'd like try it on. And then when people would come in, I'd know what didn't move, what does move. And that was really fun. So I enjoyed that. By the time I got to about 19, 20, I realized that none of this was making me any money, and I needed to pay bills. I realized I wanted to go do some travel. I didn't go to uni because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, and I didn't like my family background. We didn't have a lot of money. It was never kind of suggested that you should go to uni unless you've got money. So I didn't take the uni route. So I moved from Adelaide to Perth, and we've got some family over here, and they're all in the mines. And so I ended up getting a job in the mines at 19. I was working 4 weeks on, 1 week off, and earning way too much money than anyone knows what to do with. It was like insane, the amount that they were paying me at that time. And I was cleaning, I was doing a rotate. So I was cleaning for 1 week, going into the kitchen as kitchen hand, chopping up fruit for another week. And the third week, I was serving beers in the bar. And then I'd go back to cleaning, and then I'd fly out. And then I'd have my week off. And I did that for about 3 years before I moved to another camp and I was doing bar manager, and then they started moving me into accommodation. And like accommodation was starting to use a lot more of my skills that I'd learnt in regards to like business when I studied at TAFE, which was really cool. So I started doing that, and I would have stuck with that forever. I got a really good job. I was at Cosmos for a while. I think I ended up going to about 30 mine sites because I was on the relief roster. So I've seen a lot of WA. I've been to a lot of mine sites. It was a great experience. And then the last site that I was at out there, they ended up making us redundant. Our mine site closed down. I was so heartbroken. But I got a job with Rio Tinto for a little while. I fell in love with a lovely man. And then I ended up stopping work for a while to help him with his kids. We got his kids like full custody. Got a great job. So I started doing like full-time mum life. And that just turned my world like upside down. So I needed something to do, and I started part-time in fashion. I was working in a shop, which started to like spark that interest in helping women. And I thought, do you know what? I think I could actually create my own business. So many people were coming in, they needed help, they didn't know what to wear. No one else really understood bodies, and I just seemed to get it. So I was like, I'm gonna do it. I said to my husband, I think I'm gonna do it. We crunched some numbers of what that could look like, and I put in my resignation. We moved house the same year that I launched my business. And yeah, I loved running my business. Absolutely loved it. It's probably one of the biggest things I'm proud of in my career. And it was the hardest thing to let go because we're in a living crisis at the moment. And so that was really hard. People can't afford what I was offering. So jumped back into retail for about another year. And then while I was in retail, it was just after you've been empowering people and helping them, and that spoke to my soul, I realized that retail doesn't do that really. And I wanted to find the thing again that does. And I was talking to Emma, and she was like, this job's just popped up. And I know that you love helping women, and I know you're passionate about that. We'd had a whole conversation about it. And so here I am, like the roller coaster of life brought me here.
I love that. I'm so glad that it did bring you here. You've just had such an incredible journey. And I love that you, like from the beginning, you were like, oh, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I'm just going to go out and try stuff. And I feel like that is such an incredible trait to have, because sometimes, particularly like when we're like, teenager in high school, maybe finishing high school, we can be kind of paralyzed by the, I don't know what to do, so I might not do anything. And you were like, no, like, I'm going to go try hospo. I like swimming, so I'm going to go try be a swim instructor. I'm going to go try TAFE. I'm going to go work in the beauty section at Big W. Like, I'm going to go test out all of the things. And yeah, even going into mine sites at such a young age as well, that can be a really daunting experience. But it seems as though you really loved it. What was your experience like working in mining, especially on such a hectic roster too, like 3 weeks on, 1 week off for that many years? Do you feel like that had much of a impact on, I suppose just your existence?
Totally. But I think like when you're that age, like when you're in your 20s, one thing I want you all to know is when you're in your 20s, you are very adaptable. Like you have no idea what you can adapt to. This is your prime to try things. So if you don't know what you want to do, now is the time to just try things. I think the thing that was the best about FIFO for me is it's like it's like a pro and a con. The con is there's not that many women out there. The pro is those women take you in under their wing and you form the best group of girlfriends and you all keep an eye out on each other. You know, the first site I was at, I think there were only 5 of us, and we would have every Friday night, we'd go into one of the girls' rooms and we'd watch movies together. And it was always things like 300 and Battle of Troy, you know, the ones with the really hot guys in them. And it was,
of course,
or a good rom-com, you know, like just some really good feminine connection and fun together. Like that's what we did. And so I think that's what really got me through. I met some incredible people, and because you're in that small community, you make friends that really understand what it's like to do that and to be away from your family. So you create family out there, and that's what I loved.
oh, that's such a beautiful perspective on it. Like, I've never considered that, particularly like with the mining industry. I've always just kind of thought, oh, that must be really challenging as a woman, especially such a young woman going in there. But you were clearly such an incredible and valued team member because they took you all over the place. They were like, she's great talent, we've got to make the most of her. But yeah, that was incredible that you're able to build that community really based on like female empowerment, which is really, really cool. Do you find that when you were working in Big W, working in the makeup section, was there a similar thread around that as well? Because I can see that that was a big passion of yours working in retail, being able to empower and encourage other women, particularly maybe around like finding a style that works with them and works with their bodies and making them feel comfortable and happy. Was it a similar kind of vibe when you were working with the makeup?
It was different. I think for whatever reason, retail can have a bit more of a competitive edge about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't love that. And I've experienced that in both cases, or 2 cases when I've worked in retail. The one that I just worked in, amazing. And maybe that's because I've removed myself from the competition. I'm like, I'm not here to compete. That might be a mindset shift as well. But yeah, I definitely didn't find it as inclusive with the girls. I still made some great friends, but there was a bit more cliquey, I thought, with retail. Yeah,
it can definitely be like that. Yeah, I mean, that can be anywhere you go, really,
absolutely.
to be honest. But yeah, that's so true. I wanted to speak a little bit more about your business venture because you mentioned it was one of the things that you are the most proud of, you know,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it does seem like such an incredible thing to do, to hand in your resignation, and you did all the number crunching and all the planning and then went out onto your own. And you spoke a little bit how that was kind of like based around the fact that you're like, I know people's bodies and I want to be able to help them. But can you speak a little bit more to, I suppose, the passion that you had going into that venture and what kind of really sparked it?
So at the time, I was a lot curvier than I am now. And I had really struggled to value like myself and my worth and how I present and to invest in myself. So when I started in retail, it was a little bit like a refinding of myself and my personal confidence in how I look and feel again. And so working with women in the change room, definitely when I'd had those moments and they were like, oh, I feel really good when I was in retail, I'd go home and I was like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I nailed it today. Like this woman, she had a transformation and like I put her in this, and I knew this color would look great. And so that built my confidence very selfishly. It was building my confidence while I was building other people's confidence. But I think when you're doing that in a job, like that's the sweet spot, really. Like when you're feeling like you're doing amazing and you're contributing to something that makes you feel good, but also helps other people around you, I think that's a real sweet spot for business and for what you do. And then with my business, taking the leap, I don't think that didn't come with a whole lot of self-doubt. I was very lucky that I had like a great supportive network. I had a couple of girlfriends who have studied business. So one of them was helping me, you know, map out my business plan and my mission statement and to really get clear so that I always had something to come home to, like, why am I doing this? Because sometimes in business you can get very overwhelmed. So it's nice to have something to come home to, like, why am I doing this? What is the actual purpose of this for me at this time? And that can change as it evolves as well, but that was perfect for me because I can definitely be one of those people that overthinks and, you know, thinks that when an opportunity comes through, I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's too much for me. I'm not speaking in a shopping center. No way. Like, I'm not standing in front of hundreds of people. But then when you look at it and you're like, my mission is to help and empower people, and I know that I can do that. Okay, well, looks like I can do that, you know? So for me, it was always coming back to my why, and then and celebrating the wins along the way. That was what kept it going.
I love that. I feel like your whole career journey really is like a reflection on your own personal growth journey, which is really beautiful. I love that so much.
Yeah, you're probably right with that. It probably has been. I don't know if it's like that for everyone else, but yeah, it's definitely been like an evolution of me, and that's been through where I'm at in my career. 100%. Good pickup, Aimee. Look at you.
Look at you with your female empowerment once again. Oh, that's incredible. I love that you were really kind of speaking to the fact that you drilled down on your mission and of what you wanted in your business and kept coming back to that, because I think understanding your why and your values is such an integral part of not just your personal growth but your professional growth. And if you don't know where to go, like, I feel like that's a good place to start, and then kind of work out who you are and what really lights your fire, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, and that changes. Like in different stages of your life, your values are going to shift. I'm probably just gone
Mm,
through another big shift, which is why I'm here again, you know, back to like reevaluating what's important. So that's where having that flexibility to go with the flow and learn and reflect
mm.
back on where you're at. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. What type of challenges did you face when you had to make the decision to close up on that venture that you were so passionate about? And then also transitioning into being a mum for your incredible stepchildren as well.
Probably a ego adjustment with the business, like, and that was unexpected. But with my business, you know, I built up my Instagram and um, I built up my business. And so many people say, don't make that part of your identity. So keep your identity of who you are and what you do separate. It is hard, and you don't realize. And I thought I wasn't crossing those over, but it wasn't until I had to step away from the business and can't and you know pull it all down. It was like a bit of a grieving period for that. You know, just it hit me how much I relied on that to feel good about myself and how much I tied who I am into that. So I had to find some new hobbies and make some new friends that weren't all business friends because they were all talking about their businesses, which I love, but you need other things in your life as well. So that helped me grow in that way. And then it was probably like a similar situation when I quit the mining industry to look after my beautiful stepkids. That was probably similar. Like realistically, it was a bit of a grieving period for where I am in that stage of my life, and letting that ego go, and then sort of writing it out until you get to the next thing again. Because as much as I love goals, God, life throws you some twists and turns along the way, Aimee. Jesus, you just don't know where you're going to go sometimes.
That is true. And I feel like you've shown such incredible resilience, because you're so right that when you are closing a chapter, particularly one that's really meaningful to you, like, it's really easy to move on from a chapter when you're like, oh, like, for example, if you didn't enjoy high school, at your high school graduation, you're like, oh yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm so excited to get out of here. It's really easy to close that chapter. But if it was an experience that you were really fond of, it's, yeah, you do go through that grieving period and you need to give yourself the space and the grace to get through that. But yeah, it is so interesting how closely we can tie our self-worth to our success, whether that be like, yeah, through business, our career, our jobs, and how that really like, yeah, impacts like our ego and how we view ourselves. So I feel like it's a really valuable, even though it would have been really painful to have to close down the business and then also have to like leave the mining sector as well, where you've seen so much success. It would have been really, really a really good like personal development journey, because you're able to really kind of like solidify your sense of self separate to your work.
Yeah, it has been 100%. You like hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what other, because we've spoken about some of the challenges in general, I suppose, but were there on any like really big pivotal moments throughout your journey that we haven't spoken about that really significantly shaped your trajectory? Like maybe there were, yeah, big hurdles, big challenges, something that was, yeah, a curveball that the universe just threw at you.
Big curveballs. I think I got lots of curveballs running my business. I think that teaches you a lot. I built everything from the ground up. So I remember when I first started, I didn't have the budget to get a web developer. And I was like, okay, I'm going to build this website myself. And I was on the ground crying because I hate writing and I did it. And the last person I want to write about is myself and why I'm starting a business. And I just remember being on the ground and bawling my eyes out, curled up in this office actually, and just being like, this is all too hard. And I think like once I got over that hurdle, probably after I got over that hurdle, there were other hurdles, but they kind of become easier. That was probably in the business one of the funniest ones actually. Start a business. It's great for your self-development. You learn a lot, So I built my website. I actually rebuilt my website, and so many people were asking me who built my website. And I was like, that was me. I did all the coding in the background. I was #1 on Google when you searched for a stylist in Perth. Like, I was quite proud of that. So that was one of my biggest hurdles, but again, one of my biggest achievements because I busted my butt in the background to make it happen. I think the other one, though, would have been when I got made redundant, because that was a curveball, right? And that really made me like reassess where I was at and what I wanted to do next. And that one floored me, but it also like led me to Rio Tinto, and I worked with one of the most incredible teams with Rio. So what I was doing with Rio Tinto in the city, it was a new project. Everyone has the autonomous trucks now, but we were getting the first autonomous trucks from overseas in Japan with Komatsu and bringing them over and their engineers and stuff and testing them out on site before they went anywhere else. And then we started deploying them everywhere, and now everyone uses them. And it was really cool because I never would have had that opportunity if I didn't get made redundant. So that was a big curveball, but it worked out pretty well.
That's incredible. And I love how you've literally turned your biggest like hurdles into your biggest achievements. That is, I feel like that's really kind of speaks to your, not just your resilience, but your mindset as well. How do you maintain that kind of mindset, like such like a positive solutions focused perspective on the world, especially when you've been thrown so many curveballs?
You got friends that you can really have a good whinge to. I love that. But I don't know. I think you get a choice. Every day you get a choice whether you want to have a little wallow, which is fine, and I'm all for it. Like, process those feelings, but then get through it and decide. You get to wake up one day and be like, do you know what? It's time to pull my finger out and just move on with it. And I think I've just grown up with that. I don't know. I don't think we got to sit around and be upset for too long. I was always encouraged to, go and try things and go and do whatever I need to do. And probably in the resilience for me would be a little bit in spite of whatever, controls I had within my family environment, which was very Christian and very much like you have to stay at home. And I think I was expected to stay at home until I got married. No. It was just very much a little bit of that rebellious streak. Like, no, I'm going to do this for me and I can do it. So a bit of that mindset, I guess.
Yeah. Do you feel like so yeah, that I suppose it's kind of come from your upbringing then, like your real like drive and your motivation and your like persistence. Is that kind of more come from, yeah, being raised in such like a strict household where you're like, yeah, it's your little form of rebellion, I guess.
Probably, yeah, probably a little bit of that. But then you get like the social proof, so you show yourself that
Yeah.
you can do it a couple of times, and then you're like, oh, do you know what? If I've shown myself a couple of times that I can do this, then you can continue on that thread and push yourself even further. I don't know. I think there's a bit of both.
Yeah, that's so true. That's very, very true. Um, I wanted to know, how do you stay like so inspired and innovative in your work? Because we've spoken about, how you can really pick yourself up and how you can keep going and how you've got that drive. But what about the creative aspect of it? Because I can imagine, particularly when you were running your business and designing websites, there would have been a huge creative component where you'd always need to be coming up with new things.
Totally. And that can be really hard. It's like a bit of a juggle, the creative side. How did I keep coming up with new things? I like to surround myself with other creative people, like other people who inspire me. I'd meet people out networking and I'd be like, this is a really interesting person. I love what they've created with their business. I want to get to know them more. Or I'd meet someone and I'd be like, I really love their social media content. I'd follow that. I'd connect with them and message them a couple of times to be like, hey, I really love what you're creating. I started putting myself out there more in that regard and creating connections and learning from people who I thought were doing what I couldn't do or what I wish I could do better. Yeah. So that inspired me. I also learned that you can have creative burnout, and the best thing for that is to go try new things. So wakeboarding is one of my new things that I do, or go away for a bushwalk. I live near the coast, so I'm always on the beach. But if I go for a bushwalk, it's like you get whole new surroundings, whole new things, sights, sounds, smells, all of that. So shaking up that, yeah, that's probably the way I'd keep the creative flow going, is just looking for inspiration, but not necessarily in the most common places. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those are two really fantastic strategies, like surrounding yourself with other creatives and really kind of like feeding off their creative energy. Because you can have one idea and then you bounce it off another person, and then all of a sudden all of these ideas are flowing and it's amazing. But then also getting it from nature and moving your body as well, because when you move your body, you also move stagnant energy. So if you're just feeling really stagnant and stuck, if you literally just go try wakeboarding or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah,
like all of a sudden
absolutely.
you've got all these great ideas.
Yeah, not even kidding. I would go out, especially like we'd go away for a weekend or something, and I'd go leave Nick and the kids and I'd go for a walk or something. And then just on that drive back to where we're staying, it's like you get all these downloads, and I'd have to ring my mum and be like, Mum, you need to take some notes for me because my phone doesn't pause. Like Siri doesn't allow for me to pause when I'm like, doesn't allow it, cuts the note off. So I'd be ringing my mum and be like, can you take these notes down? Bang, 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 bang. Social media ideas, website colors, blah, 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 blah. All of it.
That's incredible. We should have got you like, what do they call a dictaphone or something? Like, the things where you can speak into and then it like records it back.
You totally need one of those. And for the shower too, please. Yes. Best
Yeah,
ideas.
absolutely.
Always.
Best ideas are in the shower. Oh, that's incredible. I love that. Those are so many fantastic strategies. Those are amazing. Um, One thing I really wanted to come back to, because we've spoken about it a few times, is your real, I suppose, passion for empowering and uplifting and really inspiring that self-confidence in other people, particularly other women. I wanted to know, are there any particular like causes or missions that are really close to your heart outside of that? Because I suppose like FFLP really kind of fits into that.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that is really close to your heart?
Oh, totally. So one thing we haven't talked about, which I definitely brought it up when I was running my business, which was pretty pivotal, is I experienced DV like in my teen years with a previous partner. And so that was really hard to go through, obviously. And after I'd, done some work and spoken to therapists and sorted my life out many years later, when I was running the business, it became really important for me to start recognizing that and talking about it, because I had healed and I wanted to bring awareness to that for other people. So, Zonta House and I, when I was working with my business, we got together and had some amazing chats. So I'm very passionate about talking about domestic violence for women and empowering women to, take their power back. And I'm very open to those discussions. It's just can be very hard. Like, I've spoken on radio, I've spoken online with many podcasts about it. I've spoken at events as well. Like Worthy is another incredible business, WA based, and they put houses together. Like they deck it out with beautiful furniture and great linen, so that when these families are leaving, when these women are leaving and they have their kids, they can go into a home and it actually feels like a home instead of having no money to help themselves. So that's one I love. Oh, my cup of tea. And then I've also done stuff with Dress for Success in Perth. So they help women who have come out of work and they're looking for they give them strategies on how to interview really well so that they can re-enter the workforce, but they also dress them, which I love. And they have an op shop section because they get incredible donations and they're obviously trying to build money. So anything that isn't work related, they have these incredible sales. And if you love secondhand clothes, which I do, it was great. So I did a lot of work with Dress for Success for a couple of years there. Yeah.
That's incredible. You have such a big heart, and I'm so glad that you were able to take control of your narrative and then use that to drive so much positive change in other people's lives when you accepted that that was part of your journey and you're like, I want to go and help other people who may have experienced this as well. That's a really, really brave thing to do. You should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you.
That's amazing. I really hope that, I mean, I'm going to do a bit more research into Zonta House, Worthy, and Dress for Success, because I wasn't even familiar with those organizations as well. But yeah, they all sound amazing.
They're amazing. Great group of women there. And, if you ever want to do any volunteering, I would highly recommend any of them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more specifically about, because you've just had such an incredible journey and you've given so much to so many people. I want to talk a little bit more about, from your perspective, the like advice and insights you can give other people. So what advice would you give to young women who are just starting out their career right now?
I think based on my own experience, which can be the only point of view I can give you, is there's going to be lots of changes in your life. And so one of the best mantras I got given when I started styling was, when someone gives you an opportunity, say yes and then figure out how. And I stuck with that for years. And I still, have boundaries. If it's over your boundaries, have a boundary. That's fine. But if it comes from like a self-doubt point of view, just say yes and figure out how. You'll be amazed what you can achieve.
That's so true. I was reading a book recently. It's called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And there was this phrase, and I wrote it down. He was like, do every piece of work or opportunity, I suppose, that is given to you to your absolute best of your ability, as if it was gifted specifically to you by the universe or by God or whatever your thing is. Because it is. Like, every opportunity is a gift. So you say yes, like receive the gift. Like, if someone was to try and give you a gift at Christmas, would you be like, no way? Like, that's what opportunities are. Like, you need to treat it the same thing, that it is a gift and you have to be appreciative by like putting 100% into it and then, yeah, just working it out.
Yeah, 100%. Don't think the gift doesn't, like, sometimes the gift you're like, oh my God, I'm the wrong person for this gift. Like, please don't give me this gift. I think, like, for me, one of my biggest ones was I was asked to do a talk in a shopping centre, the one I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I did not want to say yes to that. Like, I wanted to go curl up. They wanted to film me like shopping, and then they did an interview with me and then they set up the stage, and it was right in front of the food court, and all these people were looking at me. And I'm not a public speaker. No way. Like, and if I catch up with friends, small groups of friends is my preference. So like the gift was not the nicest gift at the time, but like, but I just said yes, and I figured out how, and I did it, and it was actually amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, putting yourself out of your comfort zone is like terrifying, but it's always usually ends up being like, yeah, those hurdles that turn out being those hurdles that turn into your greatest achievements.
Absolutely.
I wanted to know as well, like, what is one piece of wisdom that maybe like someone has imparted on you, or just maybe something you've learned yourself that has really impacted your journey?
Yeah, so I always stuck with the thing where I tried not to compare myself to others, because you can see from the outside and it can look like someone's doing amazing, or they seem like they know exactly what they're going to do. And so I've always sort of stuck to like a bit of an own lane, own race, own pace mantra to keep me, because comparison just really, what's that saying? Comparison is the thief of all
Comparison is
joy.
the thief of joy.
Yeah, and it just is, if you think you're not good enough and you're telling yourself, oh my God, my friend Sarah, she's doing so much better than me, you don't recognize what you are doing and what you are capable of. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love that. That reminds me of another book, Comparisonitis by Melissa Ambrosini. Such a good book, because yeah, it really speaks to all of the different ways that comparison can not only just take away from your own joy, but can really kind of take away from the love that you have in friendships and
Yeah.
relationships as well, because you get so caught up in your own head about the comparison of where you're at versus where they're at. So yeah, that is such a valuable lesson.
Oh, these sound like good books. I'm going to have to like write them down, have a little look. Love it.
I need to write a book list or start a book club.
Yeah. Maybe we need a list in here of all of the book recommendations.
Of all of the books. I love it. I also want to know a little bit too about how you've been able to navigate that balance between personal and professional life, and how you've any tips for maintaining that balance as well. I mean, it's not like a balance I think anyone ever perfectly achieves like 100% of the time.
Okay.
And to be honest, especially when you're running your own business, like the creep is so real, like where it just keeps like encroaching on your personal hours and early in the morning and then late at night. But are there any, I suppose, tools that you've used or strategies you've used that have really helped you, just get a little bit more balance back?
I like to think I had an ankle reconstruction. I always thought balance was, I always thought balance, you were meant to just have it even. I thought that's what people always meant. So let's understand that. Stand on one leg, close your eyes, and then turn your head and see how your balance is. Sometimes you're going to wobble that way, and sometimes you're going to wobble that way. And nothing teaches you about balance like having an ankle reconstruction. Some days your balance is better, and some days it is bloody terrible. So if we use that analogy in life, it's okay sometimes to have, more leaning towards business, because sometimes your business is going to need attention, like more attention than you think it does. And sometimes your job is going to require a bit more attention than you would like it to. But the balance for me is about, okay, I'm going to ride this out, but I absolutely have to make sure that later on I have this time for myself. And what does that look like? So I've got my family and my husband. I have to keep my relationship with my husband okay. I have to keep my relationship with my kids okay, my friends as well, and then my me time. So of all of those things and your business or your work as well, sometimes more energy is going to have to go into your relationships with your friends. Sometimes a little bit's going to have to go more into other areas, but it's about, okay, I've been spending a lot of time here with my friends, or I've been spending a lot of time here with my business. I need a bit of me time, and actually recognizing, having that self-reflection and being able to recognize, oh, I'm drained, I need the me time, or oh my God, I haven't seen my friends in ages, my God, I just need to spend some time with them and reconnect and have some fun, so that's what balance is for me. It's more like a self-reflection tool. If I notice that I'm stressed and anxious and overwhelmed, I'm like, what's the thing that's missing? I look back at those 5 and I'm like, okay, one of those has been missing and I need to top it back up again. And so your balance probably leans towards the other way for a little while, and then you balance it out a bit this way again. That's, to me, what it is.
Yeah, I feel like I suppose the main thing there is giving yourself a moment to reflect and check in.
Yeah.
Because then that's what allows you to then go assess and be like, all right, we've probably been leaning a bit too much this way. We need to balance it out by adding a little bit more into this. But I feel like that's such a good way. It's such like a more manageable way to look at it, because some people are like, oh yeah, when it comes to balance, I schedule 45 minutes and 53 seconds of this specific activity every day. And then it's 15 minutes of meditation, specifically at 5 a.m. Like it's so structured that sometimes that can feel not achievable. So I feel like your perspective on it is a lot more accessible to people.
I tried that, Aimee, and I would get stressed and overwhelmed if I didn't have time for the thing that I had scheduled in. Or I'd felt like, oh my God, I love a good list. I felt like I was a failure because I didn't tick that thing off my list. And so it negates the whole bit where you're like meant to be feeling good and building towards something positive. So that the list work for some people does not work for me.
Yeah, it's just about finding the thing that works for you, and just, your whole attitude of like, well, let's just give everything a crack and then we'll just find out what works for us, which I love.
Just see how you go. You're going to be fine.
Just see how you go. From your perspective, what do you think the most important thing is when it comes to empowering other women, particularly in the business world?
I think it's giving back. Honestly, I think it's like removing the feeling of competition and being open to help people who might even be wanting to do the same thing as you, because I think we can look at what's available out there and feel like we're in competition with other women, or that there's not enough roles for what we want to go to for. I honestly feel like the biggest key is to give back.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's really evident in your journey as well, with like all of the work you've done with all of those incredible organizations, and now with FFLP as well. So yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so what does the future look like for Jessie? Can you share any, like, I know that sounds like such a daunting question, but can you share any like goals you're working towards, or any things you would love to really see come to fruition in your life? Or you could also just be like, I'm really happy with how my life is and I want to keep these good vibes rolling.
I'm probably in a really good balance and flow at the moment. I've wanted to have a job which I love and where I can empower people, and I'm doing that right now. And I always go by feel. Like, what I'm definitely like that one of those people who needs to find what they feel is good. And then I'm also volunteering and taking my dog in, and we sit with people while they wait for their cancer treatment at the moment. And we do that once a fortnight. So I like that I'm able to volunteer in a capacity that doesn't affect my job, and I love that I can do a job where I can still do that volunteering as well without it feeling like it's too much for me right now. What I'd probably like is, like, this is great where I'm at and I'm definitely learning, but I also am someone who likes to grow. So probably something which has that next level of growth. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm always open to a bit more growth.
I love that. And that's all what it's about, is just being open to whatever the next opportunity is when it comes your way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So next is our rapid fire round. So don't think too much about these. Yeah, no, get ready. Don't think too much about your answers. Just whatever comes to mind. Don't overthink it. First one is, seeing as we've spoken about so many books throughout our chat, what is your favorite book that has influenced your journey, or just one of your faves?
Big Magic.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Incredible. What is it about?
It's about sparking your creativity and nurturing it, and the journey of creativity.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, next, what is one piece of advice you wish you had received maybe when you were 13 years old working at Hungry Jack's?
You are capable of more than you know. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay, and then last one. If you could have dinner with any female entrepreneur, living or deceased, who would it be and why?
Oh, part of me wants to say Coco Chanel, but I don't know if she's a really nice person. So, like,
Iconic, but mixed reviews.
so kind of her from a fashion point of view. From a entrepreneur point of view, it would be Melanie Perkins, who created Canva.
Yeah, she's amazing, isn't she?
Yeah, she's incredible, and she did it so young, and what she's put together, oh my God, just amazing.
Both iconic women, though, that have built empires in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so just to really kind of close off this wonderful chat, what is one key message you want listeners of this conversation to take away from our discussion today?
I think you kind of pointed it out. It's okay to go with the flow, and it's okay to not know where you're going to go, but just do things that ignite passion and spark your interest, because you don't know where it's going to go, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's such wonderful advice. And finally, where can our audience connect with you, if they haven't already, of course?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just on LinkedIn, so you can search my name, Jessie Jolly, on LinkedIn, and I'll be there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jessie. I have so thoroughly enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much for giving up your time and being so vulnerable and open with your discussions and your challenges. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Aimee. Appreciate it.